Hello everyone. Today our group will be presenting on Agile project management. This presentation is by Fern, Patricia, Mal, and Menashe. We'll explore what Agile is and how it compares to traditional SDLC and the challenges organizations face while implementing Agile at scale. The overview. We'll start by briefly explaining Agile and how it differs from traditional SDLC, and then we'll look at the flexibility versus control, and finally explore the series of challenges encountered when Agile is applied in real-world environments using the Chapter 1 case study. Agile. Agile development focuses on individuals in the group over processes and tools. Agile ensures good but not overwhelming documentation, a limitation of traditional development processes. Constant writing and updating is time-consuming, especially if the requirements of the project are frequently changing. Agile development focuses on the collaboration of the stakeholder. It is important to work with customers to deliver what they need. Popular Agile methodologies include Scrum, Kanban, and Lean. Moving to traditional SDLC. Traditional SDLC is composed of clearly defined and distinct work phases, later used to plan for design, build, test, and deliver information systems. The waterfall method focuses on complete and correct planning to guide large projects and risks to successful and predictable results. It is linear, as events occur in a sequence, depending on predictable tools and experience. This also means that events need to be completed before the next one begins. Each project follows the same life cycle, with stages such as feasibility, planning, and design. Planned upfront without any scope for change, it is rigid and highly controlled. Moving on to differences between Agile and SDLC.
Hello, I'm Mel, and I'll be going over the differences between Agile and SDLC. So first off, Agile is more rapid development of solutions. Agile allows teams to deliver working features in smaller increments rather than waiting until the entire project is completed. This means stakeholders see results sooner, can test them earlier, and provide feedback before major time or resources are wasted. Next, it enhances flexibility and adaptability. Requirements often change over the life of a project, especially when dealing with customers or evolving business needs. Agile supports continuous updates and adjustments, making it easier to respond to change without disrupting the entire project plan. Next, it encourages organizational learning. Agile teams frequently evaluate their performances through regular retrospectives. This promotes a culture of continuous improvement where lessons learned are immediately applied to the next sprint rather than waiting until the end of the project. After that, customer demand-driven development practices. Agile puts customers at the center of the decision-making. Features are prioritized based on the customer's value, meaning the most important functions are developed first. This reduces waste, effort, and ensures that outcomes closely match the user's needs. And lastly, it works best when a project requirements are unclear. When these requirements are uncertain or likely to evolve, Agile provides a structured way to discover them through feedback, and instead of trying to fully define the project upfront, Agile progressively clarifies requirements as work unfolds. Next, we will be looking at the traditional SDLC methods. To start off with, the traditional SDLC method is more structured as it follows a defined stage such as planning, analysis, design, implementation, and testing. This clear structures help teams stay organized and ensures every important step of development is completed in a logical order. Next is more predictable project lifecycle because the stages are clearly defined as it creates a predictable roadmap for project progress. It becomes easier to estimate costs, timeline, and resources needs in advance, leading to fewer surprises during execution. Next, extensive documentation of requirement design and implementation. SDLC methods require a major documentation as its detailed records are created throughout the project, which supports knowledge transfer, reduces confusion, and provides a reference for future development. After that, it ensures proper distribution of resources. Where a planned sequential lifecycle, managers can allocate appropriate staffing tools and budget for each stage. This resource conflicts and make it easier to manage workload across the team. And lastly, it has more distinct phases and clear milestones. Each phase in SDLS ends with a milestone or a deliverable. These checkpoints create a natural review point, helping stakeholders confirm that goals have been met before moving on to the next stage. Overall, Agile provides a greater flexibility, faster delivery of working solutions, and continuous learning, making it particularly suitable when requirements are unclear or likely to change. As in contrast, the SDLS approach offers a structured, predictable framework with well-defined phases, strong documentation, and clear milestones, which supports planning, control, and resource management. Now I will be passing you to Patricia onto the challenges.
Hi, I'm Patricia, and I will be discussing 4 challenges of Agile development. So the first problem is Capital One and scaled Agile framework. So it is difficult to scale Agile beyond small teams. Scrum, for example, it's designed for 5 to 10 people. This includes the technical lead, Scrum Master, as well as the product owner. So when the team starts to grow bigger, a Scrum of Scrums is necessary. Here, each team sends an ambassador to the daily sprint meetings. This is what it would look like. So while managing teams, it can recreate a rigid command and control hierarchy. This defeats the purpose of Agile, which is to have a self-organizing team. Capital One solved this by coordinating hundreds of teams towards a common strategic goal. They adopted the Scale Agile framework. The next challenge that I will be discussing is product ownership. So if a high-level senior manager becomes a product owner, the stakes of the project, their high stakes might lead to micromanagement. This destroys the self-managing team principle. So essentially, it reverts Agile back to the more traditional teams. Oppositely, if a lower management person, like a developer, they might understand user needs, but they are unable to make decisions and secure resources or resolve conflicts. This can create bottlenecks and frustrate the team. Capital One created the Agile delivery role. This role works to enable the team and business stakeholders to work effectively together. The third challenge that I'll be discussing is metrics. So a trap for project managers is using the wrong metrics or using them at the same time. Scrum uses metrics like velocity, how much work a team finishes in a sprint, to plan future work. This system can fall apart if people are moved on and off the project, or if the business changes priorities in the middle of a sprint. When this happens, the velocity number becomes meaningless for planning. Rudy Wolfs, a senior VP in Capital One, stated, "It's good to measure, but not measure too soon. If you start to focus on guidelines right up front, those goals might make for bad behavior." So then Capital One's success came from focusing on outcome-based metrics that matter to the business. This can include how much time the business partners spend with developers, and if products meet customer expectations on the first release. The next challenge that I'll be discussing is the importance of clarity. While flexibility is one of the core strengths of Agile, it can also create a major challenge, which is lack of clarity in projects' goals. This becomes even more significant when multiple Agile teams must align to one product. Each team might interpret priorities differently if goals are not clearly communicated or regularly synchronized. In Capital One, systems and software engineers, managers, and even Scrum Masters themselves seemed confused about Agile project management and why the Scrum Master role was needed. but this was solved through the invention of the Agile delivery lead role. I will now be passing you on to Fern.
The next challenge is Challenge 5, Capital 1 and the balance between flexibility and control. Flexibility can create a major challenge for project managers, and finding the right balance between adaptability and structure is a challenge in and of itself. If unstable, deadlines can slip, and teams may lose sight for long-term objectives. Even more difficult on scale, different teams may react to change in different ways, creating inconsistencies in delivery, design, and prioritization. To solve this, Capital One implemented the Scale Agile framework, giving a structured way to coordinate multiple teams while still supporting Agile's sprint nature. Mike, the CIO of commercial banking at Capital One, noted that products we're developing are bigger than one Agile team. We really need scaled Agile framework as the foundation. Challenge 6, Capital One and new tools. Agile environments depend heavily on modern development tools, automated systems, cloud platforms, and rapidly evolving engineering practices. These technologies change frequently. Teams can struggle to stay up to date. A major challenge for project managers, ensuring that team members have the knowledge and skills required to use new tools effectively. When teams lack experience on training, project delivery slows down, technical quality drops, and the risk of errors increases. As Capital One expands, its Agile operative across thousands of developers, new tools and engineering methods were constantly emerging. To address this, Capital One created innovative labs. Agile is more flexible and adaptive to changing requirements and challenges. SDLC is more structured with a more predictable life cycle. While flexible, teams can be caught up by certain problems like lack of clarity and metrics. Flexibility is great for more complex projects, but aspects of more structured and defined scopes would be needed when scaling up. Here are the references taken to make this PowerPoint, each noted and cited onto the slides themselves. And that concludes this video. Thank you for watching.